Captain. While a great many people see you as a hero, there are some who'd prefer the word vigilante. You've operated with unlimited power and no supervision. That's something the world can no longer tolerate.
Yeah, no, for us, action is like, it's of a piece with all the rest of the storytelling that we do. It has to be a strong expression of narrative and character at every moment, and that's how we find our way through action. And it's like this movie, we had such an amazing cast, so many great characters. All the action sequences are designed around how we're pushing those characters through the movie on a storytelling level.
Yeah, yes. It's like Ant said, every piece of action in the movie either has to define character or move story forward, or it's vacuous action, and I think an audience can only handle about 30 seconds of that before they start to get tired of it. So we've really put a lot of thought and effort into it. But it's also great making these films because action really is an integral component of it and really does help us define the characters in a very dynamic way.
Charismatic. Come on, make it count. What do you got?
Turn my mic up. Thank you. Rad ass. Well, I mean, I remember from the beginning trying to establish all the Marvel characters. I mean, for the most part, is how do you humanize them or make them relatable? You know what I mean? And I can only relate to someone so often when they're all gussied up. So I figure, but it was a great opportunity. I'm not really here yet, and there's a lot of people here. Can you just all turn around for about a half an hour until I'm back in my body? Excellent question, by the way.
Gosh, which superhero in real life to help us?
That's a tough one. That
It is a
really
tough one.
Tough.
It's a tough one.
It's not that tough.
I mean,
Okay,
the vision. Is that the right answer?
I'm just saying,
British one.
he's omnipotent and he can pick up the hammer. I mean, come on.
But when he talks, everybody turns off their hearing aids. So everybody wants to.
I think if there were leaders that had, such morals as both Tony and Cap, we'd be in a pretty good place.
No, I don't like that answer. I want the real answer, Kevin.
He said one.
I nominate Hawkeye because he retires every 10 minutes. He understands how stressful it is.
That's so stressful. So stressful. I'm going to a barbecue.
Oh, God, no. Not at all. That's one of the best things about these movies. They really somehow manufacture an environment that I can't imagine arguing with any person on this set. And, listen, sometimes that happens on film sets. And for some reason, when you step on a Marvel film set, it's like summer camp. It really is. Like, you can't even construct a world where there would be some sort of friction. And even as they grow the universe, every new person they add to the fray, no one ever is out of place. They always fit right in and feel like they've been there for years.
Speak for yourself.
Shut up.
Here's what I want to say. When my son Exton started wearing entirely Captain America PJs and hats and everything, I felt a natural resentment building up. But being a consummate professional, I didn't bring it into the workplace. All right, that is the first British question we've gotten. Thank you.
Well, in the comic books, they actually went on to have a very interesting, complicated love affair. So that was something I loved about, when I was doing the research for Sharon. But I don't know how far we'll go with that. We'll see, I suppose. I mean, it helps that it's like the great aunt. It's not, there's like one generation removed, I guess. I get it. Some people think it's weird.
A little icky.
It's a little icky.
Sure. A little icky.
Deal with it. It was so fun. I mean, Sharon's a badass in the comic books. It was nice to be able to kind of play with that a little bit. And these movies are great fun to make, so happy to be a part of it.
No, everybody was very nice and very welcoming, and it was a bit surreal to see everybody in their suits, and no, it was a very welcoming feeling. This reference will just drop like a lead balloon, but I felt a little bit like Cousin Oliver coming along and joining the rest of the Brady Bunch.
All right.
Thank you very much.
That's real good stuff.
Bettany, would you like to comment on that comment?
Yeah, why don't you two just get a room, you know? Why don't you marry her, Paul? Jesus.
Yeah, I think I was, although most of this stuff is written. But there's, these guys were definitely saying, go ahead and play around with it a little bit. I mean, that's part of the fun of a character like Scott Lang. Even Robert was saying that you want these people to be relatable. This is a guy that was not born with any kind of super ability, and so it's fun to kind of see meeting these characters through Scott Lang's eyes, and that's kind of the way that I felt just being there, shooting that scene. There was, very little acting required, I think, on that part.
It's perhaps the most powerful child soldier in the world. But he's look. There's a certain narcissism to the character, and Tony doesn't want to lose this fight. At the same time, I think he also sees Spider-Man as the greatest living non-lethal weapon. If you're going out to capture a bunch of people who you don't necessarily want to hurt, you couldn't ask for a better character than Spider-Man to take with you. He does show up and illustrate to Spider-Man he knows how powerful he is in a video where we see Spider-Man stopping a car moving 40 miles an hour, where he catches it and puts it back on the ground. So I think he believes that he's taking with him perhaps one of the most powerful characters in the Marvel Universe. And I think he feels like the kid will be well protected under his tutelage. You also find out in that sequence when things go wrong, the kid says, "What do I do?" And Tony says, "Keep your distance, web him up." So he's obviously mentored the kid for what's about to go down.
But it's still very irresponsible.
Well, now that 2 out of 3 Spider-Men are English, I really got to talk Maguire off the ledge now. But Mr. Holland, anyone who experienced him, he's not a work in progress. I mean, he's really something else. And I think by the way folks reacted to this, I mean, it's always, it's like a new anyone. I think he really came on with a bang, and there's a lot of excitement about seeing what'll happen when he kind of holds his own, But did anyone dislike Holland, or are we all okay with him? We'll talk about it later. Yeah. We'll post something if there's any dissension.
It's a question for Kevin then.
I couldn't answer that question. I hope so, but no. I mean, that's what attracted me right away, because it's not a cliche stereotype villain. He has his very human motivations. He has his reasons. So that gives the character, depth and makes him ambivalent.
Blokify.
I rather just hold my own without having to be extra girly or blokified.
Yeah, no,
I think just like hanging as yourself is good. I thought I almost made it, by the way, without having to say anything.
Yeah, no, I mean it's a lot of dudes. I will say that. But yeah, everyone's great. It's a really good environment. I don't think there's any girlifying or blokifying.
I think it's something that that fans have wanted, but we're just trying to root it into something that's like more pure of a friend and a companion, because we have to make up I'm not a mutant. I'm made from his stone, basically, and so we have that in common, and to use that as a thread that roots our relationship, I think is really important and grounding in a way.
They're joined by the fact that neither of them know the extent of their powers, and that's terrifying, but also unites them. Oh, it was hot. Thank you for asking. It's makeup that they continue on with computer-generated stuff, so I'm wondering why I'm in the middle.
Why is this so loud? What are you? Every time I laugh, I'm blowing up my mic.
A lot of leg workouts. I have it in my contract that I have 2 behind shots twice in the movie. So, thighs and quads, man, thighs and quads.
Well, I don't think anyone up here, makes movies based on what other people are doing. I think, for the most part, we're kind of doing what we do because it's
because we do it really well.
We do. It's true. I shouldn't say we. It really is the Marvel, the higher ups who've somehow figured out this formula of good movies.
Listen, when they get a Bucky, we'll start talking.
Well, only half of us were there, as in the Team Cap, because I think Team Iron Man was not
At
really
lunch
there.
or hanging out.
But thanks, Chris.
You're welcome, dude.
No, we shot it over 5 months, so it was.
That one scene.
Yeah, it was sort of chopped up in different bits, and most of the time it's like what Anthony likes to describe: acting with a tennis ball, because you're just there with your imagination and the green screen.
Yeah, that's one of the best parts of the movie, in my opinion, that I think you have these guys who, they shared a battlefield together. I think any guy who, has been in war will tell you that once you actually risk your life and have seen war with someone else, that's your brother for life. And they were brothers even before that. And then given the fact they both have gone through such trauma, Cap, they've each lost, and Bucky more so than me, things were taken from him. But as a result, we both kind of have even more of a connection and more of a bond, and we are the only remaining thing, especially, I don't want to, no spoilers, the last remaining chapter, the last remaining elements of a previous life. So it really kind of transcends that kind of family dynamic that we've built in the Avengers, where you see a guy like Cap who typically does what people need, and in this movie he does kind of what he wants. And he prioritizes his personal ties over the needs of the masses. And it's all because of this kind of brotherhood foundation they've built.
Here's all I want to say. Feige and I were out to dinner last night, and you'd have thought they'd dosed our bubby water. We were looking back at the last 10 years and all the kind of little miracles and the blood, sweat, and tears that had to happen to keep developing all these characters. And we just got kind of like, not in a self-aggrandizing way, but just kind of giddy and kind of super, super grateful at how things have gotten. But as far as the people who really have to hash it all out, I mean, you'd have to talk to Kevin and the team. I want to say, because I generally give no credit to writers, and I'll try not to do this again, that Marcus and McFeely did an exceptional job on this, which was a really tall order. There, I said it.
I did kind of want to be on Team Iron Man.
He said it. He said it. I knew he'd say it.
That's a good one. I mean, switching powers, I'd take Vision. Not switching makeup. It's a real nightmare. But the ability alone, yeah, you can't beat Vision. He has an Infinity Stone in his head. I don't know how you top that.
It might be nice to be Iron Man now and again, But I'm pretty good where I am, thank you.
Spider-Man?
Yeah, I've always loved Spider-Man as a kid. So I'll do this on you. Get out of here.
Great. Stuck.
I mean, it really just depends on what's the narrative of the movie. As you can see, I'm a worker amongst workers, and I like getting in where I fit in. in any movie where I can spend weekends with Renner, he's Lord of the Underworld. This is Pluto back here. He's going to get you home in one piece, but you're actually finally going to have a good time.
Wow. Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Well, we're shooting a Weekend at Bernie's spinoff.
Yeah.
With the three of
Jeremy's
us.
the dead guy.
I'll be Bernie.
Weekend at Bucky's.
Weekend at Bucky's. That's what we're doing.
Speaking of Bucky's.
No, well, the chessboard on this movie was who sided with who, to your earlier question, and there were a lot of characters that went back and forth for a while before we landed on the makeup of the team. But in terms of the addition of Tom Holland as Spider-Man and Chadwick Boseman, who couldn't be here today, but who is unbelievably awesome as Black Panther, it came from the story. We didn't sit down and go, okay, we want to introduce these characters because we want to make more movies, and how do we wedge them in? It was, we are telling Civil War, we have Cap's side, we have Tony's side, and we wanted to bring in somebody who wasn't aligned with either side. And Black Panther in the comics is great because he doesn't really give a shit about either of the other sides. He has his own agenda. And it was, I don't know, a quarter of the way through the development process where we thought this would be the time to bring in Panther.
Yeah.
Well, it was before the MCU even existed. In the early days of, I think we were even just beginning to dream about maybe becoming our studio and getting financing, was about a little over 10 years ago, which is when Civil War was published. And it was an amazing comic series, and I remember reading it, every month when it came out and thinking, it would probably be impossible, but wouldn't it be cool someday to do this? And it wasn't until about 2.5 years ago, that we thought, now is the time. We've assembled enough players that we could do it now. It varies. Sometimes the idea comes about very early and is incorporated into the script, and sometimes based on his schedule or where he is willing to travel, it comes about sort of later in the process. On Guardians of the Galaxy, it was shot later, and I think this one was shot during production, but I don't remember when the idea came up for this one. It was in the draft, I think.
It was in the draft,
Yeah.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah, usually we comb through when the script is done and try to find a spot for Stan.
Yeah.
It was exciting, I mean, a lot of it rested on Downey's shoulders, whether or not that he would be willing to do this, and right away that when you bring Downey into the equation, the movie is going to, it's going to have a certain level of awareness, and it's going to have a certain level of charisma. That's what he comes with, and it was exciting. It was exciting to think that you could kind of, you knew what it meant as a jump off. You knew what that meant, because obviously the Civil War in the comic books incorporates so many characters, and at the end of the movie, Marvel has this great history of never leaving you completely satisfied. You kind of anticipate the next chapter, and this would obviously leave the entire MCU in a little bit of disarray, which is exciting because that's only going to be more rich for the next Avengers film. So for me, I was thrilled. I mean, shit, I'll take all the help I can get. Oh. I don't think it was. Kevin, did you?
No, that's all.
Those are real?
I think it was me, but it's you do those things. Luckily, between scheduling and Russo, everyone, you try and get those scenes as early on in filming as possible because you gradually shed weight as you're filming. You're wearing that suit every day, and you just.
I was helping him work on his shoulder about 6 weeks after that.
I really genuinely did mess up something in my arm.
We don't care. We love that shot.
Doing it, like it's a very unnatural position to be in, and you're like, look, you're trying to flex, you're trying to look good, and not like it's not a utilitarian shot. It's really just trying to look good.
Yeah, come on in.
Go on, Paul. Go on.
What do you want?
I was going to say, you really were holding back a helicopter, too.
It was on a rig, clearly, but the first take we did, the rig, it didn't go far enough, and so you're kind of just you look silly almost, and you say, guys, can we get it so it actually extends to the point where you really are trying to hold something? And they did, and you really do. All of a sudden, you are trying to hold something. It may not be a helicopter, but regardless, it did something, and that's true. There were many days that I would come into Downey's trailer, and he has all these amazing contraptions. He's like, well, I was going to say another comic book character. We don't want to bring DC into this stuff. But he has all these amazing toys, and he really had all these little, stickers and weird things and like
Electromedicine.
Whatever it is. And it actually was great. It's a mess again, though, I will say.
I'll mention this. I remember the day we shot that scene, there was a miscommunication with the costume department, and Chris came to set to start the scene in a jacket. And Joe and I were like, no.
Everyone was like, no.
It would have been a different scene.
Yeah.
In a jacket.
Team Iron Man. It would. There would have to be some sort of responsibility. You'd have to answer to somebody. That you couldn't just let these group of vigilantes answer to themselves, right? I mean, that's the sad truth. I mean, the truth is, if there really were Avengers, I would be Team Iron Man. I would. I mean, who would?
God, you're here. I was really having a hard time grasping that concept.
Well, it wasn't mine.
I think it's Mackie's.
That would be correct.
Anthony? You're the biggest trailer?
Well, I have a lot of stuff, so I just, it's really nice. It's really, I gotta, but he has like 5 of them.
You got the thighs and quads.
What?
You gotta fit the thighs.
I gotta fit them thighs and quads somewhere, man. But he has like 5 of them.
Yeah, Robert actually has the smallest trailer. He just has another 4 trailers, right? He has this beautiful Airstream trailer, and then there's 4. Just
Actually, the state of Georgia wanted to give it its own zip code.
It's like a kiddie choo-choo train, and it just goes around in a circle.
I didn't get one, no. But we're maybe...
He got a chair. You had a chair.
No, but it was, coming from Germany, I remember that the first scene I had with Robert, after 5 minutes he asked me if I had allergies. I didn't understand the question. And when I had lunch and was eating my burrito in my humble little trailer, somebody knocked at my door and said, and he was sitting in a golf cart, and he said, like, you're cordially invited to Robert Downey's village. I said, wow. So I left my burrito. And then in the far distance, I saw that huge space with 4 or 5 trailers,
Thanks,
lawn,
Kevin.
palm trees. I had a 3-course meal.
Right.
Did you get a massage?
And then I was quite sad when he left because I was only invited twice.
That's everybody's goal every day is at lunch to see who's going to get invited to the village. And you get so jealous. Like the day he was invited, I see him go by my trail. I'm like, motherfucker.
I'm the Graydon Carter of the MCU.
Robert introduced me to quinoa. I was like, what is this beautiful grain? What are these little marbles I'm putting in my mouth? It's like, that's quinoa.
Now,
where do I buy this?
We had a good one. I wanted to have Sebastian over sooner, but he sent me this video of him just ripping out bicep curls with a decapitated Iron Man skull in the thing, and I was like, this guy's method. Now let's find out what his allergies are. All right, I've run out of patience. On to Ruse!
Hey, everyone.